Okay. Good morning, Stefano. Can you hear us?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon.
Okay. We see you all glitched. Could you please try to turn off and on your camera? Okay, perfect. We see you. Good
Okay.
morning. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Ludovica.
I'm Catherine.
And uh, are we going to start with your presentation first, right?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here again. I was already here on the IULM FLOW last year. My name is Stefano
All
Zordan.
right. Uh, Still the same again.
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hello? I hope you can see me and hear me. I cannot see anybody anymore.
Yeah. Okay, every time you get small, we can't see you anymore. Okay.
Okay. On the live is fine, so we will see you all glitch, but it's projecting fine, so we can hear you. Then and that's the important thing. So if you want to start talking, present what you have to introduce about yourself and the company, we're here to listen.
Okay, I hope it works. So hello again. My name is Stefano Zordan. I'm really happy to be here with you again. We did this last year and it was fun, a lot of fun. I'm the founder of the Adriano Olivetti Leadership Institute, in short, OLI, which is the first school in Italy fully dedicated to the development of leadership in people. And so I'm here today to talk to you about our approach, how we consider leadership, and why we think leadership is something that can be learned by everybody.
Or do you have a presentation prepared? We lost sound.
Can you hear us?
Now I can, yes.
Okay. Do you have the present? You have a presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to present it, we can start with that.
Yes. Can you see
Okay,
them?
perfect.
Can you see the slides? Can you see the
Yes.
slides? Great. Okay, hopefully we can. Right. So, yes, as I said, I am the founder of the Adriano Olivetti Leadership Institute. I'm going to tell you in a moment what that is about, what we do. But I want to start a little bit with my story, with how I got here. You can see me there in the background, surrounded by that little dot. There was me 10 years ago as a student at Harvard University in the US. That's where and when I learned about leadership the way that I'm going to tell you about today. Before then, my knowledge about leadership was zero. And as most people, I thought that leadership was a quality, a trait that certain people, that some special people have, and most people don't. That for me was leadership. This class, this very experience, really changed not only the way I look at leadership, but me as a person. And I was very young back then. 10 years have passed. As I said, this is the approach that I encountered at Harvard and I brought back to Italy with me. It's an approach to leadership that is very different from the usual way that most people understand leadership with. These two guys up here were my professors at Harvard, Ronald Heifetz and Marty Linsky. 40 years ago, they have developed this framework that came to be known as adaptive leadership. But I want to go straight into it. I want to start with the etymology of leadership, which I think is always a very good starting point, and not very many people know about it. So when you look up the etymology of leadership, you don't find anywhere anything that talks about guiding other people. Originally, leadership doesn't have anything to do with guiding others, Leadership, according to its etymology, has to do with going forward, going forward. So what it takes to go forward. And the second meaning that you find when you look up the etymology of leadership, you find to die, which is a very strong meaning, but it's there. I'm not making it up. Okay. So leadership has to do with going forward and dying. We could say that leadership has to do with living and dying. So my professors, when they discovered this, they they realized that our current understanding of leadership is pretty far from this. Okay, so they said, "Wow, leadership has to do with biology. Leadership has to do with evolution. Leadership has to do with adaptation. What things do we need to do today in order not to die?" I'm going to say it again. What things do we need to do today in order not to die? If I care about my group, if I care about my community, what things should I propose to them so that we don't die? Or to put it differently, what things should die today so that we can continue living? Do you see where I'm going with this? So leadership is the things that we need to change in order to stay alive. The things that we need to change about ourselves and about our surroundings in order not to die. Okay? And who can do this? Well, all the people that are involved. Whoever is involved, whoever cares about a place, a group, a community can do this. So this definition is very inclusive. It's very broad. Anybody who is included, anybody who belongs to a place, anybody who cares can do this, should do this. So this is the image that I want to present to you. My professors at Harvard realized that leadership is about helping a group adapt, helping a group adapt. You can see there the three, three spheres, okay? So leadership is about choosing what things work and what things we should preserve, what things don't work anymore, so that we should discard, to open up new spaces for new things. So leadership is about choosing what to keep, what to change, and what we don't know yet and we should learn. Okay, I always use the image of a glass. When a glass is full, if you want to add more water, you have to remove a certain amount of water. You cannot add more water on top of a full glass. Well, it works the same way with the DNA of your group, your school, your family, your community, your company. Okay, in order to add, you need to remove. But as you probably know, none of us likes to remove. We all like to keep the effort that we made in the past. So leadership is about helping people remove those pieces that don't work anymore. Remove those pieces from the past that don't work anymore. And it's a fascinating work, but it's difficult. It's very difficult because nobody wants to lose anything. We human beings don't like to don't like to change, or I should say better, we fear change. We fear change. We don't like the feeling of being discarded. We don't like the feeling of having our own piece be discarded. So leadership is about accompanying people through this process of adaptation. What's the goal of the process of adaptation? Well, it's to help your group thrive, help your group live better, reduce losses, reduce losses. It's a very powerful way of talking about leadership. What are the things that we need to do now to stay alive? So leadership, the work of leadership requires anybody who wants to do it to stop, to look around, to see where we are, and to imagine where you want to be tomorrow. What do we need to do to get there? What do we need to do to get there? What obstacles are in between? Who wants to come? Who doesn't want to come? Who is scared about the journey? Okay? Who fears change? Why? Hmm? So, if you want to sum up leadership in just one sentence, I think that could be leadership is about managing people's fears, managing people's fears. Okay, helping people to understand why they fear change. Is it a rational fear? Is it not? More or less. Why? Where does it come from? Hmm? Okay. I know it's a lot to take in. It's a very
Yeah.
different way of looking at leadership than we are used to. Um, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want to introduce you to another very powerful idea.
Yeah, also it would be this kind of topic of authority and leadership is also one great topic that our colleagues have prepared for the Q&A. So
Yes,
we will
yes.
also have time later to discuss it.
Mhm. Absolutely, that's very important. You see, in our common language, there's a lot of confusion about the difference between authority and leadership, or the difference between a boss and a leader. Well, adaptive leadership is very clear about this. Leadership and authority are not the same thing, and we should not be afraid of saying that. Okay, authority is a role. Authority is a role, a role that somebody gives to you in order to do something. And that's fine. That's wonderful. Thank God there's authorities. Authorities are there to keep order in our groups, in our communities, in our society. So authority is about keeping order. Leadership is about changing the order. Leadership is about changing an old order that we don't like anymore, or that doesn't fit the modern time anymore. Okay, so you see there is a tension between authority and leadership. Let me say that, and I'm sure you have all experienced that. Sometimes authorities fear change. Sometimes authorities fear change because they know that if change happened, they would be questioned. They would be
Yes.
questioned. They would lose something. They will run the risk of losing their power. Okay, so authorities oftentimes don't exercise leadership in the way that I presented to you. Okay, so
But do you think that these two spheres could coexist, or
yeah,
just
well, it's important to distinguish them, okay, so that we understand what authority is about and what leadership is about. And then, as you can see in the top part of the diagram, of course, there is a lot of authorities around us who are willing to exercise leadership, but they need to decide. Leadership is an act of willingness. You need to decide that you want to do it. Some authorities are scared about leadership. Okay, some other authorities accept the risk of going into leadership. Um, Let me say, and I know this is very counterintuitive, leadership doesn't get you followers. When you say things that people don't want to hear, you run the risk of losing followers. You run the risk of losing votes. Okay, so leadership can be very unpopular, needed but unpopular, and that's why a lot of our authorities stay away from leadership, because they are too scared of losing votes. They're too scared of losing likes on social media.
Yes.
Okay, so that is very important to keep in mind. Very important to keep in mind. So, just to sum up, leadership is not a position. Leadership is something that you do, not something that you have or you are. Okay. So in this approach, anybody, young old, people from any background, any position can exercise leadership. Actually, I'm going to say something very strong. The less you have to lose, the more free you are to exercise leadership. Okay, the less you fear losing something, the more free you are to experiment freely. Okay, and that's why when some of us are promoted, they become more conservative because they have more to lose. They have more to lose. Leadership is not oftentimes met with applause. Leadership is often met with resistance. When you propose a change that people are scared about, they're going to tell you, why? Why are you doing this to us? Don't you like us? Why can't we stay where we are? Why? Why are you dragging us somewhere else? Okay? And so, as we said, many authorities fear leadership, their own leadership and other people's leadership. That's the translation I did back in 2018 into Italian of the practice of adaptive leadership. So you can see from the title, this leadership is a verb, is an activity, is a practice that you can do from wherever you are, from whoever you are. Why did we start with a translation? Because in English there is already a problem talking about leadership. In Italian and in some other languages even more, because we borrow the word from English and we don't fully understand what it means. There's a lot of confusion around the word leadership. Why a school, an institute about leadership? That's a question that I get a lot. The way we intend our work, of course, is not a school for managers only. Our school is for as many people as possible. Our mission is to bring the good news of adaptive leadership to as many people as possible, especially those groups that have been for too long excluded from trainings on leadership. And I'm thinking about youth, I'm thinking about women, I'm thinking about people that are often far away from positions of authority. And so, as you can see, training people in adaptive leadership is a way to empower them, is a way to help them make the right questions, come up with the right questions, and find the courage to come together and to ask those difficult questions. So as you're probably seeing, leadership is about having the courage to say that I'm not okay, having the courage to say that I'm not okay with the status quo, having the courage to investigate why the status quo is what it is, and why could be changed.
Okay.
Very quickly, I just want to tell you why we decided to name the institute after this guy, Adriano Olivetti. Some of you might have heard of him, some of you not. He's a very famous Italian entrepreneur, philosopher, philanthropist, thinker, who really believed in empowering his own community. At a time when it was not popular. Of course, he didn't use the word leadership, but he practiced it. And so we needed to find a story, an Italian story that was relatable to many people, as a way to bring to as many people as possible the message of adaptive leadership. And I'm happy to say that it's working. More and more people are understanding why we named the institute after him. And we also chose a very symbolic place where to locate the institute within the Olivetti Library. Imagine in the 50s, in the 1950s, he created this public library open to everybody where people could go and really empower themselves through knowledge. And so to place the institute here for us was very important, very symbolic. And so what we're doing,
Stefano,
yes.
Our time is really brief, unfortunately, today. So if you don't mind, maybe we can start to move to the next part of our interview. So everyone has a chance to interact with you. If you have anything else to add about the company, obviously we're super interested, but if we can start
Yeah.
to move to the more
Yeah,
interactive part.
I was there. Just as you can see from the
Okay,
pictures,
perfect.
what we are trying to do is to create a leadership community. So a place where people of all ages, all backgrounds can come and practice this practice, which is leadership.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. If you can turn on the creative camera, we have our first. Yeah, I'm trying to.
So good afternoon.
We hear you from here. I'm trying to. I don't know how to. Okay, how do we? Okay, we're uploading the slides. If someone from the tech office can upload the slide, we have them here, but I don't see them on the. Okay, perfect. So we can. Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, we heard a lot about your company, and I took the liberty to summarize it in one sentence, and which was that your company is excelling in promoting leadership in organizations and communities, and set as a goal to compel individual leadership into collective leadership for a positive societal impact. That was what I did. Okay. Then we're going to start with some yes and no questions just to get into the setting of answering questions. And afterwards, we're going to go into open questions so we can get more in depth into the questions.
Yeah, these are just as a warm up, just more quick answers. And then if we have time, we can come back to them later. So we're starting with Beatrice. Speak. So,
can you hear me properly?
No, maybe that's.
Okay.
Okay. You cannot hear. Okay, just
Yeah.
Here I am. Good afternoon. So my question is basically about the very first thing you said about the essence of adaptive leadership, and by making some research, I came to the conclusion basically that these are the two pillars, I would say, of it. So emergency and of course adaptation. But then my question is, if, as you stated, the two pillars can be perfectly resumed by stating that adaptive leadership is about changing in order not to die, so survive. How could a cynical person, a person that has no faith in the society and the system live in, actually carry out this practice? I don't think it would be feasible, honestly. So
I love this question. Thank you. I love it. No, it's very difficult. You need hope. Hope is an indispensable ingredient for the work of leadership. What kind of hope? Well, hope in the fact that things can change. So if somebody says things have been like this forever, they cannot change, well, that's an obstacle to the exercise of leadership, to the practice of leadership. So a cynical person has to do a lot of work on themselves.
Because I feel like cynical people are really like hopeless, honestly. So that would, at this point, it's not practice. I stated at this point, it's probably impossible because cynical people, I define them as hopeless, basically, in a sense. So, I mean,
but
that's not at this point, it's something for everyone.
Not to be cynical doesn't mean to be naive. In order to exercise leadership, you need to be realistic and optimistic. Realistic and optimistic.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. If you can turn on the creative camera, we're trying again with the double camera. Okay. Speak, please.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear the girl?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're not switching again.
Well, my name is Isa, and my question for you was: would you recommend adopting adaptive leadership practices within a newly established organization?
Hmm. I will say it's never too early or never too soon to start practicing adaptive leadership. We work a lot with youth, high schoolers. People need to be trained in this way of working, which is not problem solving. This is different. It's a way of showing problems to others and to your community. So yes, I would say why not. Um,
And don't
it's
you think
important
it
at the
might
same time. So sorry.
don't you think it might be too it will have too many risks and it would be too uncertain for a newly established company?
Well, you can do it on certain topics. You can do it, with some structure. You can do it once a month. You can, it's it would be ideal to do it as soon as possible, but without letting it, bring too much disorder. It's important to do it, but without unstructuring too much the company or the organization. But I think it's possible to do both.
Okay,
Authority
so
and authority and leadership.
yeah, so you would say just do it, but not too much. Like use it when
No,
it's
that's never the case. That's never the case. We it's difficult work. So I always say 98% of conservation, 2% of change. That would be already wonderful. So it's important that we keep that 2% of change going. Um, and if we start early, we probably have more chances to not to forget how to do this.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the next person.
And especially these more yes or no questions, if we can keep them more brief, maybe we can give everyone the chance to interact with you, because we have around 20 questions and our time unfortunately is quite short.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. My question was inspired by Noam Chomsky, the strategy of manipulation. I was asking myself, if there is maybe a situation in which manipulation can be a legitimate tool or morally acceptable if it leads to the right place or to the right results.
Well, it's a word that I don't like personally. Anything that helps people, anything that helps your community deal with their own fears, it's leadership. All things that don't help your community unpack their fears, that is not leadership, that is manipulation. So to me, manipulation is the opposite of leadership. Manipulation is a way um, to hide fears or to
Sorry,
blame
Steve.
somebody else for your
Stefano,
fears.
can you hear us?
I don't know if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Oh, yeah.
Stefano, okay, sorry, we had a short blackout. We didn't hear the last part of what you said.
Oh, sorry. No, I just said that to me, manipulation is the opposite of leadership. Manipulation is a way of hiding your face in front of fears, not helping your community face their fears. Leadership is about helping your community see their fears and do something about them. So yeah, I would say no. Manipulation cannot be a leadership tool. Leadership is about helping people see better, which is difficult work, but it's the only way forward. It's the only sustainable way forward.
But so you think it's not possible to achieve something that's good through manipulation?
It's a very short-lived way. It shows very soon. Leadership is about helping your people see better, even just a tiny bit better. But tiny bit after a tiny bit after a tiny bit. I think it pays in the long run. You might lose votes, but you gain in terms of civic conscience. You gain in terms of adaptation for your own people, for your own group.
Okay, thank you, Stefano. The next one is already here with a
short but provocative question.
Hi,
Yeah.
Stefano, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I've looked into the concept of adaptive leadership, and if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, at the base of the practice of adaptive leadership is pushing your belonging group of people towards a situation that is going to allow it to thrive in the future, right? So to push it out of its comfort zone towards disequilibrium and then to adaptation, right? Don't you think that in a way, this man, Vladimir Putin, pushed Russia to a situation of disequilibrium and out of its comfort zone to then reach a situation in his mind was going to be a better one, where his country would thrive, would work better? So my question to summarize everything is he a good example of adaptive leadership? Do you think he practices adaptive leadership?
Well, definitely not. It's a great question, but definitely not, precisely for the reason I said before. He's not helping his own people face their own fears. He's blaming someone else. There's always an enemy. There's always a scapegoat. There's always someone else attacking us, threatening us from outside. There's always an enemy. And that happened, that was that was the behavior that led to World War II. Finding a scapegoat, not working on our own issues, but finding a cause somewhere else.
Do you think there was a part of the Russian people that believed, as he did, that those territories belonged to Russia, that they had to get them back in some way?
You see, who is suffering because of these policies? The Russian people. It's very clear. These policies are not helping Russia adapt and evolve. They're trying to preserve a status quo that it's no longer sustainable. That's how I see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if the tech office, okay, perfect.
We're going to go over to the next question.
Yeah.
And these are the open questions, so you can elaborate a bit more, but try to keep in mind the time that we have. And the first one is from Sophia.
Hi, Stefano. Okay, actually, I'm gonna redo my colleague's question. She wasn't able to come. So her question is, does adaptive leadership encountering conflicts with traditional organizational structure and resistance to change pose challenge? And are there effective strategies to manage these conflicts and promote innovation?
Yes, the answer is yes. A lot of people don't like adaptive leadership because they see it as a threat to their own position, to their own status quo, and that's we need to know that. And those are the people that we need to talk to. Why are they scared? Why do they fear? I encounter people like that all the time. I'm sure you do too. Our political conversation is dominated by this. People that bring a new idea and people that are scared by this new idea. Leadership is about that common ground. Bringing people together, talking about the ideas. So leadership development is a wonderful way of helping. Depolarize society. In a polarized society, people are always looking for a scapegoat. They're always looking for an enemy. Leadership is about talking about the problem. Why is it so scary? Why is it so scary? What future?
Do you think we're going to be able to change their mindset about this topic?
Eventually, some of them. Leadership is about diagnosing who is available for a conversation, who is not. If they're not available right now, maybe we can wait. Let's see. Is there anybody who can go with us? Talk to them. Is there any allies? Who is willing to do a little piece of work with me right now? That's.
Okay, thank you. I'll tell her your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go over to the next question, which is from Mirza.
Hi. So you said earlier, and also on your website, I read that you say that adaptive leadership can be taught to anyone, but how do you cater to people that don't have this natural leadership in them, for example, due to social disorders like social anxiety, or for example, autism spectrum disorder?
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. You see, the thing is that I don't think that leadership is natural. To say that leadership is natural is it excludes a lot of people. It excludes most people. It excludes people who don't appear strong, who don't appear, authoritative. Here we are saying exactly the opposite. Here we are saying that anybody who cares about a place, a group, can do something to preserve the life of this group or to improve the life of this group. So I'm actually saying that people with a different perspective can actually contribute a lot to this work. Okay, leadership is about listening to different perspectives. So we need we need these groups, we need these perspectives if we want to create a change that is sustainable for as many people as possible. So I would say we need to find ways to include as many people as possible in these processes.
But do you think that because they're naturally not inclined to take these steps, so how do you think you cater? How do you attract these people to join or to be interested in this?
It's our task to find new ways. If the way we work now it's scary to some people, or it's not in their courts, we need to find other ways. We need to find new ways. Leadership was developed. Adaptive leadership was developed 40 years ago at Harvard. A lot has changed since. So it's an expanding field. There's room for psychologists, there's room for pedagogists, there's room for people who can rethink the way leadership development is done. But the message at the center, I think, is very strong. Anybody can do this work, regardless.
Thank you, and thank you for your question. We have 10 minutes ish together, and we have 12 questions to ask. So if we can go brief. Again, sorry to ask, but
we're gonna go over to the next question, which is from Jeddah.
And to the tech team, if you can leave the question presented, it would be better. Thank you very much. If you want, you can obscure us, the leadership camp, but keep the presentation so they have the topic under them.
Here you go, Jeddah.
Okay, hi, nice to meet you. So I was wondering, in which circumstances you think the adaptive leadership style works the best?
Great question. When the authority collaborates, that's the ideal situation. So if the authority supports the work of leadership of others, that's the best possible scenario. But that's not always the case. That's all I have to say.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
We're gonna go over to the next question.
And again, if we can keep them under, it would be better to keep the conversation flowing better.
Julia, the floor is yours.
Hi. Good afternoon, Stefano. I'm Julia, and I would like to ask my question about interpersonal communication, because I actually noticed that the image representing today's meeting is a photograph of the thinker, which is a famous sculpture that kind of became the symbol of interpersonal communication. So I was just wondering if there's a connection with this, and if adaptive leadership is something that has to be found within ourselves, or something that can be taught, passed on, and if so, in what ways?
Great question. Yes, we chose that image because of that. So it's great that you recognized it. I would say the purpose for the exercise of leadership you need to find within yourself. The fire for the exercise of leadership. The way to do it can be trained. So actually, the course at Harvard is all about finding ways of expressing your purpose, but the purpose is within you. The fire is within each of us. As I said, you exercise leadership because you care about the future of a place. And that sense of passion, that sense of care comes from within you. So the origin of leadership is within you. The way to put it out can be trained, can be learned, can be improved.
Okay, thank you for answering my question.
Okay, Please, again, if you can leave the slides under, it would be really great. Thank you. We're
gonna move on to the next
Hi.
person,
Okay.
and that will be me with a brief question before my
Sorry.
colleague comes in. I saw a questionnaire from another video that I put in below, which in which you told her that you didn't know when you were studying at Harvard that you had the leadership in the possible leadership in you already. But why do you now think that you have sufficient knowledge to teach adaptive leadership to people all over the world?
Mhm. This is a difficult question. Well, it took me many years to start, doing it myself. For many years, I just went around following my professors and looking at what they were doing. But I would say that now I feel confident in creating a space where people can train and develop their leadership practice. It's not that much a matter of transferring knowledge. It's a matter of creating a space where people can try. That's the most difficult part. You need to create a space where people feel safe, but they also feel a bit pushed to try. And that I feel that I'm becoming much better at creating. And that's the difficult part of my job, but it's a lot. I love it.
And do you think you already have reached like the knowledge about adaptive leadership that you would want, or do you think you also can still improve in certain?
Oh, you can always improve. As I think I said earlier, I'm realizing that leadership is all about understanding the dynamics of the human spirit, the fears, the passions, and those things are they're universal. No matter if you are a 15-year-old or a 6-year-old, or the better we become at working with those passions, with those things, with those fears, the better we become at creating these spaces of learning. And that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on. The institute really specializes on this.
Thank
Okay,
you so
thank you.
much. We're going to go on to the next person, the first question, which is Manon.
Hi. So today we can cite a growing mistrust regarding the elites. And I was wondering, according to you, who are considered as today's world elites?
That's a difficult question. Well, more and more so.
First, please, can we keep the slide under so we can see all the things that Manon put in her slide, please? Thank you very much.
Well, more and more so, the global owners of the media platforms, of the technological platforms, are becoming the real elite of the world. They are controlling more and more so, even our politicians. So this global dimension has to be taken into account when we talk about leadership as well. For us, it's a challenge. The challenge is, how do we make sure that these global elites really care about the adaptive development of our communities the way we described it? That's the challenge. And I don't have an answer. I can only say that there's a number of people belonging to this elite that are supporting financially our work around the world, in different countries, in different places. There's some other elites that are very far from these ideas. So our work is to really is to really educate these elites, these economical elites.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to the next person, which is Laura.
Hi, I'm back. Okay, so my question is based on the assumption that leadership is a skill that can be learned by all, and it can lead to positive consequences, positive results, or consequences that are the result of manipulation. And so, is there any way we can avoid this kind of manipulation by potential leaders who possess a low moral standards or not?
Great question, really spot on. Well, the answer is very easy, it's very simple. The more people practice leadership in a certain place, and the lower the risk is for manipulation. The more people think critically in a place, and the better off that place is. Some authorities don't want us to think. Some authorities want us to be dependent on them. Leadership is about lowering our dependence on authorities. I'm not saying that authorities are bad. Authorities serve a purpose, serve a function, but leadership is about lowering our dependence on authorities.
So we should spread awareness. We
Yes.
should spread awareness. Okay.
Awareness,
Okay.
consciousness,
Thank you.
helping people see better around themselves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the next colleague of ours.
Angela, again with the
Hello.
authority topic.
Yes, as you have maybe already answered to my question was, do the good leaders need maybe in some way manipulation strategies that I explicitly alluded on Noam Chomsky and manipulation strategies? Does a good leader need it even the most difficult situations or never?
Well, it depends what you want to do. If you want to, keep your power, gain more votes, and control people, you're not going to exercise leadership. You're not going to use adaptive leadership. If your goal is to help your people thrive more and adapt better to the challenges of the future, then you will need adaptive leadership, which might cost you some votes. So you see, it's completely the opposite. So leadership is not about manipulating. Leadership is about mobilizing people for change. If you are scared by change, you're not going to mobilize anybody to do change, right? So as we said, most of the people that you showed in that picture, they're actually scared by their own people's leadership. So we should be very careful in calling them leaders. They are political authorities. They are political authorities.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Next one. If to the tech office, you can leave the slides on and we will just keep scrolling, then it's not a problem to change cameras. It's fine like this.
We have about 6 slides to go, so please, as quickly, straight to the point as possible.
Okay, so my question is about the figures we have today in the geopolitical scene. So do you think today's politicians embody leadership on the international stage?
Unfortunately, not very much. Not very much. There is an increase in authoritarianism. There is an increase in authoritarianism in many countries, in many places, and that's one of the big threats, I think, to our planet, because authoritarianism doesn't care about a sustainable future. Authoritarianism cares about not losing their own power. So I think the only antidote to that is to educate more and more people to think about their own leadership development, their own challenges, their own future.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
The next slide, I'll ask it for a colleague that is sick today. So the question is about what are the advantages of having women in the leadership role for maintaining peace and fostering the growth of countries. As the article reported says, we need more women leaders to sustain peace.
Well, I'm a fan of new perspectives, new people coming in, but and for sure bringing in women into the positions of authority is very much needed, but cannot be enough. It cannot be enough. I don't know. I don't want to be politically incorrect, but we have some examples of women who act exactly like their male counterparts. So it's not enough to be a woman in order to exercise adaptive leadership. And yeah, we could bring in some examples.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to Louise.
Hi, my question was, what are the weaknesses or limits of adaptive leadership?
Good question. Well, first of all, it takes time for people to understand what we're talking about, because most of us have a very different understanding of leadership. So it's difficult already to have a shared vocabulary. And then adaptive leadership, it's difficult, takes time, it's risky. So it's not an easy approach to leadership. It's really it requires a prolonged effort. So if you're looking for a quick solution, adaptive leadership is not for you. That's the biggest limit. That
Do you think that we should teach it to many young people so they have the time to practice it and in their future act and change, do some changes?
Absolutely, I'm a fan of that. I think as soon as possible, middle school, it's probably a good time. People need to start asking difficult questions. We go to many schools and we see students who are not used to difficult conversations. They're not used to difficult questions, asking difficult questions to their teachers. It's something that can be trained.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're
Thank
going to
you
move on
to
to Amelie.
And we have 2 more left.
Good morning. Hi, I'm Amelie, and I have a question for you. Since you've been both in the US and Europe, I think we can see differences between how they manage political campaign and also the commercial campaign, and now with the regulation of AI. It seems like they give more freedom to the civilian, to give their own opinion. Do you think it's like a yes or no question? Do you think it's more liberal in this kind of way?
That's a difficult question. Let me just say that if people don't feel protected, they're not gonna take a risk. If you want people to take a risk and exercise leadership, you need to make them feel protected enough. And that's true for everything, AI, politics, family, anything. So leadership, it's finding a good combination of pushing and protecting. If people feel completely unsafe, they're not gonna stick together.
Yeah, but it seems like different cultures give the power to the people that see news and yes, these kind of things, to have freedom to say if it's fake or if it's real. So like they don't need someone to teach them what is real, what they have to do. So it's like they learn by themselves by doing something, not to have a leader tell them what to do, what to think, and what to. Yeah, so it's better.
We talked a lot about leadership today, but authority is very important as well. Authority is about regulating, is about protecting. I'm a big fan of authorities as well. Authorities are there to protect people, to protect citizens. The problem is when authorities become only interested in their own protection, in the preservation of their own power. That's the big problem, and I think that applies as well to this topic, to AI. We need regulation, but we need people to also think critically.
Yeah, it's like in an open leadership model of organization, people don't need leadership because they manage themselves the activities.
I think we need both. We need authority to protect us, and we need leadership to stay alive. Both.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're moving. Yes.
Hi, my name is Jessica, and I have been brainstorming about this question a lot because you taught and you told us that leadership is collective. It's a form of collective, intelligence somehow, and everybody can be a leader, and everybody acts toward a common ground and goal this way because we all go towards a direction. But we are also in a panopticon vision. We are trying to, embrace everything we have around us. Isn't there a risk of homologation, standardization in this type of process?
I think no. I think the opposite is true. There is a risk of homologation when only few people think. Leadership is about allowing and helping as many people as possible to use their critical intelligence, their creativity, their thinking, and apply it to our problems. So the risk of homologation is the opposite of
Okay, but connecting myself to your first question about the cynical people, wouldn't be helpful if cynical people with their hopeless mindset gave us a different perspective? Because I do think that cynical people could be leaders, actually, disagreeing with you.
Yeah, as long as they're open to working. As long as they're open to working.
Of course.
If they're closed to the possibility of change, they're not very useful. If they bring a challenging perspective, but they're open to conversation and doing something about it, then wonderful. They should absolutely be part of the conversation. They are needed.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a girl that is coming back with a follow-up question, and then we have something to sum up and conclude.
I didn't prepare my question, but you said that leadership is time-consuming and it's a risk. So I'm also asking, is it expensive? How do you balance, the positive thing and the negative thing that may happen?
Thank you. This is a wonderful question. Yes, it can be expensive in terms of your own energy, your own resources, your own time. So let me say very clearly, you only do leadership whenever you can, whenever you feel like it, whenever you have enough personal resources to do it. If you're very tired, if you are too busy, if you are coming from a very difficult period, it's probably not a good idea to go into these difficult conversations, okay? So leadership is about making a self-assessment. Do I care about something? Do I have enough energy to go into it? Yes? No? Maybe later. Maybe just a little bit. So we are making leadership very, very approachable because it's about you making an assessment about yourself. It's not about somebody else telling you. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much. And I thought it would be nice to conclude with a tip from you. So I read your interview that you did with this university that I don't remember where. And you said that leadership is a practice that everyone can learn and perfection to practice. So I wanted to ask you, as conclusion of our time together today, what do you think is the best practice to perfectionate and learn leadership?
Well, first of all, ask yourself what you care the most about and start there. Start there. Is it your family? Is it your school? Is it your association, your sport team, your whatever? So start from something that you really care about, that you're really passionate about. And then, we should stop seeing leadership as something very big. See leadership as a set of small practices. The results can be very big, but you can start with something very small. A different question, even by staying silent when you normally speak, that's an act of leadership. So start identifying some small things that you can do now, small things that you can do now. And then you go from there, and then you go from there. You measure the reaction of other people, and then you think about your next steps. But it's never it's never a perfect time to exercise leadership, but you know, it's always there's always a possibility around us to exercise leadership. If you wait for the perfect moment, it's probably never going to come.
Okay, Stefano, thank you very much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Speaking in it for name of all my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's still going live. Leave.